Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Sitting in the hot seat with me tonight, as usual, my co-pilot for this evening's adventure, none other than the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric Smith. How are you tonight, Mr. Smith?
Just awful. But it's going to be all fine.
Just awful? Does Mr. Smith need a hug? No? Stay out of the personal space. Stay out of Mr. Smith's personal space, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Frazier's, too, if you wouldn't mind. But anyway, so big old bag of stuff lined up for tonight. We do want to give a special shout out. Eric had a great conversation with a YouTube commenter here. And yes, we actually kind of pay attention to that stuff, folks, at least for the time being. But he had a really good kind of well thought out, reasoned sort of conversation with a YouTube commenter. And his name's Dan W. So we'll be, at the end of the show, we'll be talking about that more. So stick around for that. But other than that, like I said, we got a great big old bag of fun stuff to kind of discuss tonight. So are you ready to perform for the adoring fan or two out there, Mr. Smith?
I got my monkey just ready to go.
You got that monkey ready, huh?
Yep.
I don't know how to take that, man. That sounds kinky. So this one comes from Unilad, so consider the source. Ozzy Osbourne is a genetic mutant, DNA research confirms. Do we need DNA research to
confirm that?
That
he's weird.
Scientists at Gnome Incorporated discovered a never-seen-before mutation, which could explain his uncanny ability to consume alcohol in such huge quantities, proving he truly is a genetic mutant.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
I didn't even know these existed, right? I guess it kind of makes sense that there's like mutations that make some people more resistant to.
Yeah, but like Andre the Giant's the guy that holds the world record for the most number of beers and alcohol consumed in one setting. So I'm not sure. I don't think, and like he was fine. You know what I mean? Like this guy, every time I've seen him, he seems like he's
already
wasted.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's the mutation, right?
Maybe. I don't know, man.
It could be. That's just it. That's the whole thing. Is he's just fucking drunk all the time. You know, there are people that happens to, right?
No.
I did not know that. There are people that I think it's sugar. If they eat sugars and certain starches and stuff, their body chemistry is such that it'll actually ferment it in their stomach, and they'll get all fucked up.
We're just big bags of chemistry wandering around.
Right. That's why the one size fit all thing is just, horse shit, right? Because, I mean, if you can make beer in your stomach, I know a lot of people that be jealous that you can't.
Yeah, because I have to buy mine to put it there.
Imagine if you could just get wrecked by buying, like, table sugar. Like, just go buy a bag of sugar. What are you doing? I'm tying one on tonight.
Yep.
Sitting in front of the TV.
Oh, my God, I did 12 bags. He just messed up.
I was wrecked for weeks. Bill Sullivan revealed the discovery, which also found several genetic variations which predisposed him to drug and alcohol dependencies. In his new book, Pleased to Meet Me, Genes, Germs, and the Curious Forces That Make Us Who We Are, which is out this year in 2019. In the book, which is released by National Geographic this month, Sullivan looks at the surprising ways in which our DNA and biological factors shape who we are, the New York Post reports. Anything surprising there, though?
No, I think we've known that for a bit of time now, like at least 5 years, at least, if not more than that. I mean, they have the real solid idea that, it's a matter of genes being turned on or off that influences a lot about who you are individually, and also about environmental effects that turn on or off genes.
Right.
Learn a lot about that recently. They have.
Yeah, and that's getting to be that's a real thing, dude, too, is like now they can sort of tell you if you're going to have a predisposition to certain, like whether you're going to drink coffee
or like a bitter taste or can smell a certain smell, or if you look at the sun and sneeze.
Right, which is an actual thing.
Yeah.
I got a buddy of mine that's that does that. It still trips me out.
And it can be told by genetics.
He told me, he said that it was like it's just certain people have this thing. Certain people make beer in their stomach from sugar or whatever too. It's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Human beings are bizarre. All right, so this one comes from CNN.com.
Drive-in sex booths proposed for Berlin's historic
I'm going to say that
Tempelhof
Tempelhof Airport, yeah.
Drive-in sex booths.
Drive-in sex booths is a thing now in Germany.
So, you relax before you go on that plane ride, I guess.
Well, I think that airport, it's like because here it says Berlin's former Tempelhof Airport, so I don't think it's an airport anymore.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what a great idea! I'm not saying you got the wrong idea. Berlin's former Tempelhof Airport has witnessed some major events in its time. A Nazi airfield during World War II. It was the site of the Berlin airlift during the Cold War, and most recently an emergency shelter for refugees fleeing Syria. In 2008, it was taken out of service and transformed into a gigantic park, and Berliners can now be seen rollerblading down its former runways on summer evenings. That's a great use for them, huh?
Okay.
But the airfield may soon take on less wholesome. May take on a whole. This is written weird, but the airfield may soon take on a less wholesome role. The A is missing. If one local politician gets his way, the mayor of Berlin's Central Might district has proposed installing Verrichtungsboxen. How would you pronounce that?
Oh gosh,
Verrichtungsboxen.
Vichonboxen.
Booths.
Vichonboxen.
Yeah, Vichten.
Vichonboxen.
Oh God. Booths where prostitutes can meet clients in the airport site, a bid to improve the safety of the city's sex workers. These include drive-in booths where customers can meet sex workers in their own vehicles.
Meet me at the Vichonboxen.
Doesn't that just sound like drive-up kidnapping to you?
No,
I guess it's not any more dangerous than being on a street corner, right?
Well, I mean, it sounds like they've nationalized it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's crazy, right? Like drive-through sex. Stephen Von Dazel, the mayor who represents the Green Party, is attempting to combat prostitution on Kurfürstenstrasse, an upmarket street in Might with a history of sex workers. We are never going to have fans in Germany after this, man.
my second language in college was American Sign Language. So
there you go, right?
And I've been interpreting everything. You just can't tell.
You've been nailing it there, man. I got to tell you, I'm straight up nailing it. Residents and businesses have been calling for a ban on street prostitution for many years, he wrote in a statement. Yet he notes that the Berlin Senate has refused to implement regulatory restrictions because it fears a deterioration of the overall situation. He is now proposing a restriction on street prostitution in the district, instead offering sex workers booths in controlled areas in a bid, he says, to improve the lives of residents and sex workers alike. Now, there's a fucking great idea.
Yeah, they're just accepting that it's not going to go away, and they're trying to make it easier on everyone.
Yeah, just handle it as an exception.
Keep it out of sight in a sense, too.
No shit, right?
It's kind of like the same thing they did with cats in England when they started putting them in parks and stuff, and people would just feed them at parks to draw them there, and they just started hanging out there. Then there was like a cat problem in the parks.
Right, because of that, yeah. Don't feed the animals, right?
Don't buy the prostitutes in the park.
You know, this is not unlike the European countries were also some of the first countries to do things like decriminalize drugs and stuff and start handling it more as a public health issue. Well, and there's definitely been benefit to it overall that's measurable, but the problem is it comes with that really scary S word, socialism. And that's what freaks everybody out.
By benefits, you mean economical benefits, right?
Well, certainly there's been, like I think it's Portugal shutting down like 80% of their prisons and they're turning them into like weird bed and breakfasts and stuff like that. But there's definitely huge financial benefits to the society that way, but consequently, there's a big public health benefits too. The amount of people dying in these countries of things like opiate addiction and stuff like that plummeted, like dropped 70% and stuff. So there's a big savings to humanity's sake, I guess, in all of this as well. But go ahead.
But Matt,
stop it. I know.
What about the ethics of the situation?
What about the puppies?
What about the biblical ethics?
I know. God forbid we actually. I'm sorry, I can't say that. Right?
Why can't you?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I just don't want to anymore.
You don't want to talk about the religious ethics of this.
My head hurts, Mr. Smith.
Anyway,
Dazzle, who spent 2 years looking into the issue on Kurfürstenstrasse, warns that unregulated street prostitution is leading to men seeking sexual services at such a low price that prostitutes are having to engage in sexual services as a bulk business in order to earn a basic income.
Wow.
Like,
the market value has went down drastically, but if the government steps in, you can ensure that prices will stabilize.
Well, we'll get some price fixing going on here, fuckers. So from a strictly market economic standpoint, that says there's an overabundance of supply versus demand.
Yeah.
So men, what we're talking about here is that there's so many people willing to do it that it's cheap.
And accessible,
but remember,
on every street corner.
Remember, legalizing this is a bad idea. What am I saying? I guess I don't know. I probably should be careful. He says only a minority of sex workers on the streets are receiving health advice and have been registered as sex workers. The number of places where sex workers can engage in sexual acts in private is diminishing, and the visibility of pimps is having a negative impact on the safety of residents. He says. Yeah, you don't want to get the pimp hand, man. That's bad shit, bro. Don't make.
I mean, it all makes sense to me. They're just cleaning it up and stuff. They might try to regulate it at the same time.
Of course they will. It'll be safer. The girls will be able to get more money. There'll be health. Restrictions, so they're less vulnerable to things like communicable diseases. Like, there's a lot of fucking stuff that comes with that regulating thing. That's not necessarily bad.
A prostitute was talked about in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Right.
She was the one who subdued and civilized Enkidu, which became Gilgamesh's best friend.
Enkidu?
Yeah, so there's this weird connection with civilization and prostitutes. They say prostitution is the oldest...
world's oldest profession.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean... This Epic of Gilgamesh came out at a time when there's very few cities in the world, and they were new, and civilization was new, and writing was new, and it was an oral tradition before that. So for some reason, those people associated prostitution with civilization, and that if you could go and buy a prostitute or have a prostitute, then you were essentially civilized.
That's a really, really kind of unique way of looking at that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, compared to today.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got to say that was my take on it. Maybe that's a bad thing or something. I don't know. But when I read it, that was kind of the statement that I got out of it, was that, there are things that come along with the first civilizations that appeared on the planet. The hierarchy and stratification of social units inside the city, as well as in the pantheon. Okay. Because the first pantheons start happening when the first cities on the planet start happening, right?
Right.
Before that, it's a whole different kind of religion that doesn't involve a pantheon of deities. There's not a stratification in their religion, but when it happens in their society, it happens in their religion. And one of the other things that came along was laws that were supposed to be handed down from the gods and were carved in stone and placed in the middle of these first cities that ever existed. And along with these laws came actual armies where people were getting enough people together to feed them and train them and have them march around in phalanx formation, so because they were starting to compete with other cities that were in the area that this happened. And one of the things that
so
came
you're, but I
along
always
with this was prostitution, right?
But
And-
okay, so not to diverge too far here, but I always believed that the earliest civilizations were only united under religion. And you're saying though that there was more to it than that. That they were also united under these common laws too. That they would.
yeah, I mean, in the first cities.
I guess some of them came from religion too.
Well, the first cities were city-states. They didn't actually belong to a country or a kingdom or anything like that. There's no kingdom or large governmental body. There was basically a city, and that city controlled an area around it, and it was able to influence the area around it economically and militarily.
Does this predate like the feudal system then?
Absolutely, by
wait a minute.
Thousands of years.
So the way we sort of in the Western world congregate under cities and things like this is closer to what was happening in Mesopotamia and Samaria and stuff originally before it became a religious thing or became a feudal thing with kings and territories and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Well,
I thought there was a transition that went like from people fundamentally organizing under religion, then to the feudal system, then to the state. I thought that was the trend. I didn't know that there was there was city states and stuff before everything.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, they did. They had cities like there was Uruk and Ur and Babylon, and some of these earliest cities, they just controlled a territory around them. They weren't really a part of a nation or anything.
Per se, right.
Yeah, and that's why you refer to them as the Sumerians. And they had those cities, but basically later on, there
must have been Sumerian kings or something
there
like
was.
that, right? Oh, okay.
There was,
okay.
but they tended to be kings of city-states.
Okay.
And as those city-states grew and their territory grew, they started butting up against each other.
Okay.
Another way of looking at it is saying that these cities occur before nations or kingdoms. Right?
Okay.
It's not kingdoms and nations that give birth to cities. It's cities that give birth to kingdoms and nations, because one of these people end up winning out over the others and form the first
But in these
kingdom.
In these groups, a sign of status of basically being what? An actual realized person in society was owning or buying prostitutes or owning.
No. I'm just saying that when these first cities occurred, some things that never existed in the world was birthed with these cities, right? Amongst these things was a stratification of the religious pantheon, a stratification of society itself, which was reflected in the religion.
Right.
The idea that laws were inscribed for the people who congregated at these cities.
It's kind of a neat thing I guess it's an interesting point to think about, that while all of these fundamental things that we consider part of humanity were going on, so was that.
Yeah, and just weird that out of all of that they took prostitution, and that's what it was that tamed Enkidu, because Enkidu was supposed to be representative of the wild and uncivilized.
Okay.
They say he was almost like an animal. He ran with the animals, he ate with them and drank with them, and basically was like an animal until he was seduced by a prostitute from a city. And then she brought him back after that, and he became civilized. In the book, it says.
I seen this. I think it was Penn and Teller were talking about this one time. They have this show on Showtime called Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
No shit, get it?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm influenced or anything, but they went over that one time about how you would think that there would be a direct connection for the increase in sexual assaults and sexual crimes as the availability of pornography became available on the internet more and more free. Mm-hmm. And what actually the data shows is that they're inversely proportional. Like as the availability of pornography increases, the amount of sexual crimes and stuff actually goes down.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And so I would say that there's probably a real direct correlation between that and also with people being able to hire a prostitute, okay, in reducing violent sexual crimes. And maybe because I guess when you say that, he was a savage and was tamed in this way, I can see I guess maybe that's what they're talking about here is
just
that
the barbarians that had yet to adopt going into the cities. I guess maybe the main reason that they ended up coming at one point was that
bring the
reason.
shiny beads and meet the shiny lady.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
wait, I don't have to club anybody and drag them by their hair. No,
right?
shit.
No, just come on in and
come
enjoy.
On in. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, and I guess that's one of the things that they're saying is that one of the big draws to civilization was the specialization. Part of the specialization was not just that you had potters and basket weavers and such and people who were in the military, but you also had a profession of prostitutes, right? And that maybe one
why
of the
should
biggest, they didn't come in to join the army, right? They didn't come in to smell the flowers or to see the great architecture, right?
No, they came
unless there was a war, they weren't coming in to be behind the walls,
right? They came in for the ladies, man. So it's the women that tamed the savage beasts, man. That's,
maybe.
And I guess maybe the way to look at that in a sense is to say that maybe this shouldn't be looked at as being somehow exceptional. What should be exceptional is the fact that more societies just don't embrace this kind of thing, given that it's so fundamental to societies almost. At least, I mean, I guess there's other things that they used to do in societies that we go, no, that's not a good idea, like leeches and shit. So not everything that an ancient society did necessarily means that it's somehow the right idea or altruistic.
No, but the things that bleed through to today, like this,
it tells you it's been around for a long time. At
truly
least.
Interesting, humanistic sort of things.
The article goes on to say, while some politicians in Berlin have proposed installing the booths under a U-Bahn railway bridge near. There's that Fürstenstrasse. Dazzle wants to put them further afield. For example, in the Zentraler Fettsplatz, an open air fairground in the district of Wedding. There's a
thrown in there to throw you off.
Yes, or in the former Tempelhof Airport in Kreuzberg. Sarah Helmler, a Berlin resident who lives in Central Mike, told CNN that prostitution has, quote, always been integrated in Berlin life.
And you pick these articles, right? So
now you want to know what's funny? Here's what's funny is this article was actually sent to me by my wife.
I see.
She's like, oh, you got to talk about this on the show. And I looked at the title and I went, yep, we're fucking doing this one.
Lisa used to live in Germany.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
So she's probably just laughing her ass off listening to us.
She may be when she hears it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because she might know how to say those words. She may have even lived in that area. I mean, it's not a huge place comparatively.
Oh, that's funny, huh? That's pretty much it. I mean, it's what it's talking about. They're just trying to figure out the best way to integrate what's already sort of in their society better and make it less impactful negatively on people.
And Lisa, when you are listening, let me know. Let me know how that article went.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to get a text. This one's for you, Bubba. Pompe, okay, I'm sorry. BBC.com. BBC, so this is good shit, right?
Yeah.
I hope. Remember the other day was, what was it, Huffington Post? And then we read the article and we're like, this is bullshit,
2 years old.
Yeah, it was 2 years old too.
That was disappointing.
That was,
and but it was also poignant, and it also led to, I think, the
really good discussion.
Dan and I had.
That was fun.
Yeah.
This comes from BBC.com. Pompeii archaeologists uncover sorcerers' treasure trove.
Bum, bum, bum.
I know, treasure trove. I had to get this.
Sorcerers. That's what you had me at. Sorcerers.
You had me at sorcerers. Archaeologists working in the buried Roman city of Pompeii say they have uncovered a sorcerer's treasure trove of artifacts, including good luck charms, mirrors, and glass beads. Probably for prostitutes again. Remember this? Anyway.
Oh, yeah. So this is Vesuvius erupted on August 24th, 79 A.D., if memory serves me correct.
You're a fucking freak, bro.
What?
You just the way you memorize this shit.
And it basically buried Pompeii and Herculaneum and a few other places, but we've only really been uncovering Pompeii and Herculaneum, Pompeii way more so than Herculaneum, and these things have been preserved by a pyroclastic flow that came down from Vesuvius.
Right. And just sort of froze everything in time.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah, they find all kinds
and people
of
like in mid-stride,
stuff.
like, fuck. And there was a dude. Did you see the one they caught the guy beaten off?
In the toilet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about
Or
that.
no, he was laying on his back. Of all the things, see, I don't remember that it was 79 AD, but
you remember
I need help.
I mean, to be fair, they had these things called mobiles that are kind of like the things that hang up above baby beds.
Yeah.
And
it's called a mobile.
Yeah.
Or a mobile, I think.
Or something.
Yeah.
But they had those.
Depends on which syllable you put the emphasis.
and they, a lot of them would have these polyphalluses on it.
Yeah.
Which were these penises that had wings being rode by penises, and they had tail and foot penises. Everything was a penis. And
just everything's a penis.
I feel like this is going to be a clip or something. And but anyway, like the idea was that it was because it gave good luck. It was considered to be a form of virility and good luck, and people would have these in their shops and stuff, right? And originally in the late 60s, when they first started uncovering Pompeii, they found this shit and they freaked out and they absolutely
because there's just penises everywhere, right?
And on the walls and stuff too, there was this kind of thing, right? So they closed it down and they had security around it. They wouldn't let reporters in, right? And that's what brought the myth from that point in the 60s onward, that there was these things like Roman orgies and stuff. They thought that the Romans were decadent with orgies and sex.
Oh, okay.
Because they were finding all the penises and they didn't realize the context under the
So what's his name? Bob Guccione or whoever who made that
Caligula
movie. That was all based on like the previous sort of understanding of it.
Yeah, because I worked in the library and it came into the library under my professor's name, and me and my buddy was like, do you I wonder if he knows what this is, and my buddy didn't know because he was kind of younger, and I'm like, yeah, so we gave it to him, and then he returned it like the next day or two. Like we didn't. I'm like, that's weird. We didn't see it in class, because I was taking a Roman class that semester with him, and we never seen it.
Maybe it's got some artistic value. Probably that's all it has is artistic value, right? It's probably it doesn't really have any historical value per se,
right? Yeah. So they found, so if he was lying in bed doing that, that also could have honestly been like a good luck or a plea, like, maybe I'll be saved or something if I invoke my energy. Anyway, I stopped you like on the first sentence or something. So.
That's what you're here for, man. That's I love having you on here.
Living up to my moniker, right?
That's right. Wizard. Most of the items would have belonged to women, said Massimo Ossana, director of the Archaeological Park of Pompeii. A room with the bodies of 10 victims, including women and children, was excavated in the same house. Pompeii was engulfed by a volcanic eruption from Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, but we know all of this because Eric already told us that. The fatal eruption froze the city and its residents in time, making it a rich source for archaeologists, which again we already know because Eric told us all of that. The trove was found in what remained of a wooden box. The wood itself had decomposed, and only the bronze hinges remained, preserved by the volcanic material which hardened over it. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
In it were crystals, ceramic, amethysts, and amber. Scarabs, beetle-shaped amulets from the Middle East were identified, along with various gems, including a carnelian with a craftsman figure and a glass bead engraved with the head of a Dionysus, the Roman god of wine, fertility, and ritual madness.
Yeah.
Am I nailing this here with the pronunciations
yes,
here, Bubba?
Sir.
It was more likely the objects belonged to a servant or a slave rather than the owner of the house. Mr. Ossana told the Italian news agency ANSA none of the artifacts was made of gold, much favored by the wealthy of Pompeii. I guess so there was a strata there, huh? A socioeconomic strata.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Well, it could also be indicative of what the social economic class of an individual who did this sort of holistic magical practicing in their society.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, like, it could just be that these people were not as well paid as a physician.
per se.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
that could literally like relieve pressure in the skull and save somebody potentially. Right. These guys are dealing in just straight up magic.
Mysticism or magic or
mysticism
belief.
In the sense that even in a pagan society, they weren't one of the priests.
Okay.
Right. You know, they're outside of that even. So they're like a witch doctor in a sense.
He says, quote, they are objects of everyday life in the female world and are extraordinary because they tell micro stories, biographies of the inhabitants of the city who tried to escape the eruption. Archaeologists are now trying to establish kinship ties between the bodies found in the house via DNA analysis. That's cool. So they'll know who the parents, children, all that
the
kind
lineage
of stuff.
and stuff of where they came from.
Quote, perhaps the precious box belonged to one of these victims. Mr. Osana speculated the items in the box may have been worn during rituals as charms against bad luck rather than as ornamentation, he said. Yeah, because of what was going on, right?
Well, no, I mean, like, this is something that this person was doing. Like, if you go back up and look at that picture again.
Right.
At that one there, see on the middle left where there's the bracelets?
Yep.
So those aren't like just for sale. Those are made out of items that I was just talking with Lisa about, to tell you the truth. She was showing me some of this, and I was telling her I had an interest in it because I was a psychic for 6 years, so I ended up learning some about the holistic and metaphysical meanings for the gems and stuff. But those are something that you would give somebody for a length of time and, you know, hopefully resolve the issue that they would have and get back.
Oh, okay.
On the right-hand side and below...
And so the listener understands. We're looking at what look like some sort of jade or bracelets that are carved out of some sort of stone or something. They're very beautiful. They're green and black.
And below them is amethyst.
Yep. And then there's all kinds of these like little figurines that are carved out of obviously different stones and bone, it looks like here.
Yep.
So yeah, I get that. These are ritual items of some sort.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a penis, there's a phallus right there. Boy,
and they're permanent ones too, like ones that you might use over and over again in the collection. They're like a kit, like a doctor's kit, right? And you might loan them out occasionally to people to remedy them, but they're expected to give it back because otherwise you wouldn't be able to replace some of these things in the kit because they're worked items.
And many of them
are rare.
Many of them have little holes in them, so it looks like they could have been strung onto like a necklace or another type of bracelet or something too. Yeah. Maybe even earrings or something.
Hung above you or on you. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. That's a really neat thing. I mean, it's horrific what happened to these poor people, but it made like a snapshot in history of a functioning society.
Yeah, of one day in history.
Of one day.
Literally August 24th, 79 AD.
Holy crap, man. You talk about having a bad day.
And everything in an area, too. It wasn't just them and their architecture and their life and everything, but it was a huge area in many different sized cities and villages were submerged under ash, and so you get once they're able to dig through all of this, you'll have a great economic picture, you know, of everyone's life and what the strata was, and a much more defined idea of what that strata is. They've told so much with just looking at the architecture. You know, how open it is and how many rooms there are and how big the gardens on the inside are, and where if it's set against the city itself or if it's way outside. You know, they found villas and stuff, just all kinds of things. You know,
I tell you, I wonder sometimes how many more of these things are just a little deeper down. Of these type of places, and like you talk about all the time with the underwater archaeology, like the really really cool shit that's like a weird snapshot in time where places flooded rapidly, obviously, and then it just sort of preserves that in a weird sort of way. Yeah,
we even have writings from Plenty the Elder who talks about Vesuvius erupting and trying to escape.
Right.
Plenty the Younger. I think his father died in
Mount Vesuvius.
I believe so. Somebody died when they were out on the beach and they got hit by gas, like the like the sulfur and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
And died.
Yeah, there was no place to go.
No,
if you weren't
really.
Already off that island, you were screwed.
Well, I mean, it wasn't an island, but it was still.
Which one was the big island?
Maybe you're thinking of Thera.
No, I thought for some reason, I guess Pompeii always stuck in my mind that it was on an island, but I don't know why I think that.
No, it was.
I'm confusing that with like the Ancient Aliens description of what happened to Atlantis or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's
that
what
was
I'm doing.
Krakatoa on the island of Thea.
That's right. Krakatoa, the echo was heard like around the planet or something like that, which is a really strange name. Crack.
Yeah.
You know, like it cracked.
Yeah.
Krakatoa.
Wasn't that the one? I know there was two. Wasn't that Krakatoa that they said that? Or was there an earlier one?
Oh, fucking no, man. I'm not
I
into
know the island was Thera.
What was I going to ask you? I don't remember now. Oh. All right, okay. This one comes from space.com. Mysterious ancient radio signals keep pelting Earth. Astronomers designed an AI to hunt them down. This is the aliens communicating with us, Eric.
Are they gamma ray bursts, Matt?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to read the article to find that out. But I think it's the aliens trying to communicate with us.
No.
It's like a light bright, man. They're just
I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
No.
It's not likely.
There's probably better ways than that to communicate with us.
Well, we hope.
Assuming they would give a shit at all.
Assuming they want to, right. Sudden streaks of radio waves from deep space keep slamming into radio telescopes on Earth, spattering those instruments' detectors with confusing data. And now astronomers are using artificial intelligence to pinpoint the source of the shrieks.
How rude.
In the hope of explaining what's sending them to Earth from researchers suspect billions of light years across space.
Billions?
Billions of light years. Mm-hmm. So this happened
outside of the galaxy.
Long ass time ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Usually these weird unexplained signals are detected only after the fact. Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they all? Okay. Anyway, when astronomers notice out of place,
not with AI,
out of place spikes in their data, not with AI. All right. Okay. Sometimes years after the incident, the signals have complex, mysterious structures, patterns and peaks and valleys in radio waves that play out in just milliseconds. That's not the sort of signal astronomers expect to come from a simple explosion or any other of the standard events known to scatter spikes of electromagnetic energy across space. Astronomers call these strange signals fast radio bursts, or FRBs.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know if you'd heard of those.
No, I mean, it's not gamma ray bursts. They used to have a thing called random gamma ray bursts.
Yeah.
That they were trying to pre-predict them because it would release all this energy.
Right.
But they ended up discovering that they were neutron stars that had a special kind of star that was orbiting.
Oh, right.
That was sucking energy off of it.
So it was always there. It was just being warped somehow or modified, right?
Pretty much.
Ever since the first one was discovered in 2007 using data recorded in 2001, well, when they said after the fact, they weren't kidding. There's been an ongoing effort to pin down their source, but FRBs arrive at random times and places, and existing human technology and observation methods aren't well primed to spot these signals. Now, in a paper published July 4th, the Journal of Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, say that 10 times fast, a team of astronomers wrote that they managed to detect 5 FRBs in real time using a signal radio telescope. I'm going to call him Wall. Wal Farah, a doctoral student at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne, Australia, developed a machine learning system that recognized the signatures of the FRBs as they arrived at the University of Sydney's Molonglo Radio Observatory near Canberra. Kookaburra? I don't know. As Live Science has previously reported, many scientific instruments, including radio telescopes, produce more data per second than can reasonably store, so they don't record anything in the finest detail except their most interesting observations. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be recording just a lot of nothing.
Well, and that's why you have that study at home stuff too. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's like a screensaver type thing.
Yeah.
My buddy Anthony Tony Wood used when he first started working for us, he had that on his work laptop. I was like, "What the hell's that?" And then he told me, and I was like, "That's neat. I want that." And then I put it on, and I used it like 3 times or something. I was like, fuck this thing. I took it away. Sorry, Tony. Let's see. Farah's system trained them all, that big-ass telescope, to spot FRBs and switch over to its most detailed recording mode, producing the finest records of FRBs yet. Makes sense. Based on their data, or the researchers predicted that between 59 and 157 theoretical detectable FRBs splash across our skies every day. The scientists also used the immediate detections to hunt for related flares and data from X-ray optical and other radio telescopes in hopes of finding some visible event linked to the FRBs, but had no luck. So, okay, so they're able to sort of catch these things now, but it's not telling me that this is the aliens.
No.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, I guess, if you're like super into astronomy and this kind of stuff. But
well, to me, it falls under the heading of there's a lot of weird shit out there that we don't know what's going on.
That we still don't know what's going on, yeah.
Like, bursts of gamma rays, bursts of radio waves. It wasn't that long ago they said that our black hole at the center of our galaxy, Cygnus 10 or whatever it is, was bursting with red light, and they didn't know why.
That's like my next article.
Well, it's all right. There's just a lot of shit going on.
Is this a segue?
Don't know what it is. Well, I mean, they're just trying to catch it. Like, see, that's how far behind the curve you are, right? Like, there's shit happening, and it's just kind of happening randomly. Not you, I mean, the scientists.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're just now catching up with being able to say, okay, we've seen this happening, and now we're able to kind of view it while it's happening because we weren't even paying attention and didn't see it or whatever,
Yeah.
So they're just now able to observe it, let alone have any idea what it is. But obviously it's been going on for quite some time.
Right.
It's nothing to be worried about,
it's not killing us that we know of. This one actually comes from Futurism. The Milky Way supermassive black hole just did something wild. I'm assuming that that's what you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
This is actually fairly recent too, August 12th. The supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, Sagittarius A, grew 75 times brighter than usual over a 2-hour span, a flabbergasting cosmic event since it's usually not very active and doesn't fluctuate much in brightness.
What?
What the fuck is it doing? It's like it's blinking. It's winking at us. Quote, I was pretty surprised at first and then very excited. Astronomer Tuan Do of the University of California, Los Angeles told Science Alert, quote, the black hole was so bright, I at first mistook it for the star SO-2. Well,
Oops.
Of course you would.
Oh.
Because I'd never seen Sagittarius A that bright. It's an honest mistake,
It
right?
is. It happens to me constantly.
All the time I screw up, especially SO-2.
SO-2 and Sagittarius A, they so close together.
Twando put up a time-lapse images over 2.5 hours from May from the Keck Observatory, the supermassive black hole Sagittarius A. The black hole is always variable, but this was the brightest we've seen it in the infrared so far. It was probably even brighter before we started observing that night. He put this on Twitter.
And why is this such a big mystery? Because, they do this, right? Like, anytime something gets close enough to it, it's going to eat it, and it's going to make an accretion disk around it, and that accretion disk is going to...
So is this what we're looking at? Like, it just burped because it just ate something highly energetic or something?
Generally what
it is?
What it is, yeah. When that happens...
just ate a solar system or something.
A planet, a star?
Another star, yeah. The team of astronomers led by Doe used data gathered by the W.M. Keck Observatory near the summit of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Again, probably killing that. Their observations dating back to May of this year were published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters this month. The flare-up could have been caused by a nearby object being swallowed up by Sagittarius A, an accretion event, as astronomers call it.
And there you go. It ate a star and made an accretion disk, and as things fell into the event horizon of the singularity, some of the energy was able to bleed off that didn't fall past the event horizon, and that was shredded into gamma rays.
Came off in like a flash.
Yeah, which is like a type of radio wave that travels at the speed of light, and it flares up, essentially.
So it just tore a star apart.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, that's so badass. It's cool, though, that the headline here says did something wild, not something weird or something unpredictable or something strange, wild. Because it is pretty wild. It ate a fucking star, man.
Yeah, right. This is why we fear these things and talk about them, because they'll occasionally eat a star.
Galactus ain't got shit on that, man.
Burp out a bunch of waves that makes you look like you took someone was in your face and flashed you with a camera. Like, holy shit, why is that all the energy in the galaxy right there? Oh, it ate a star.
All right, Eric, this is the part of the show where we start turning more towards the obscure and weird. Okay. We got kind of the sciencey no shit stuff out of the way. Now we're going to go with the goofy no shit kind of stuff.
Okay.
So this one's really interesting, and it ties into a show we were talking about automation here a couple days ago or whatever, right? But China, this is from Futurism again. China deploys its first robot traffic police.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
Here we go again. The bots are helping human officers maintain order on Chinese roads. Uh-huh. We can now add one more initiative to the growing list of ways China is using tech to police its population.
And like, isn't there some crazy shit going down like between Hong Kong and China?
There is. I don't know enough about it, but I know like in the airport, they got the airport shut down, and people are pissed off.
God, they're gonna be like, send in the robots.
Yeah, dear God, no. I hope not, man. I hope it doesn't turn into that. On Wednesday, the Handan Public Security Bureau in northern China deployed 3 types of traffic robots to assist human officers in the city. A report in state-run news agency Xinhua quotes Zhou Hozong, deputy head of the Ministry of Public Security's Traffic Management Research Institute, as saying the bot's deployment marks China's first use of robot traffic police.
I think they did a movie about this called RoboCop, right?
I think so, but that was at least like a transhuman, right? That was
yeah, but
he was like a cyborg.
But remember, like there was that other one that was fully a robot that just about killed everybody.
That's right. Yeah, the one that looked like a frog.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because I play Overwatch and there's a character in it called Diva, and it looks almost. You can see that it was inspired from the robot that kills everybody in the boardroom. Why they put it up there with live ammunition's beyond me. Anyway, each of the 3 types of robots looks slightly different from the others and will serve a unique function, which the Global Times, another state-run outlet, detailed in its own report. Okay, get ready for state news, folks. One type is a road patrol robot with a rocket launcher. No, I put that in. Designed to look like a human traffic officer with a yellow uniform and a white hat. Weird. The bot is capable of identifying drivers and snapping photos of their illegal behavior. Another is an advice traffic robot. That one will post up in vehicle management stations where it will answer residents' questions and guide them where they need to go.
Back up. Back up.
Don't walk.
Back up.
It'll also automatically report any security risks or suspects to police, the Global Times wrote. So they all do the same thing, right? That's how I like how it's how you wrap it that's supposed to make the difference. It's all just collecting data. That's what it's doing and spying on everybody constantly.
I just want to see this happen, though. I want to see this because, I mean, that's about as good as you can get with a dystopian future, I would suppose. Just get these communist society, right?
Yeah.
Robots going around.
Well, this is starting to trip straight into Orwellian authoritarian shit here now, man.
With robot assistants.
Yeah, right. Our overlords. The third type is an accident warning robot designed to let drivers and passing vehicles know when human police have a traffic accident to deal with. It's notably missing and will record you and will. The robots will be on duty 24/7. Handan Public Security Bureau official Li Hua told Chinese news site hebnews.cn. According to the Global Times report, but it isn't clear whether that applies to just one of each type or robot or several. What is clear, though, is that China is leaning into the use of technology for law enforcement. Yikes. The nation has already deployed facial recognition systems to catch jaywalkers.
Hey, I see RFID. Yeah, you can't trust those jaywalkers, man. If they're going to walk and risk their own life against the light, they will rob you.
It's awful. It's an epidemic. They made RFID tags mandatory in new cars so drivers can't skip out on paying highway tolls.
Radio frequency identification tags.
Yep. It has also equipped some police officers with facial recognition glasses to help them spot people wanted in connection with crimes. Dude, this is like...
That's the future.
Right? This is straight up like Blade Runner shit here.
They get facial recognition glasses.
It takes let me see your papers to a whole new level, doesn't it?
It does, man.
It's like it just automates the process.
You better just be a drone.
Well, now they're making... I see that there's a lot of this like... I guess you call them like underground fashionistas that are making things that you wear on your face like a mask, and it makes it so that these things can't read and use your facial features to identify you. So what they're doing now is they're outlawing masks. But in some cities in China, the air is so polluted, you can't outlaw masks because it's basically like saying, so we know who you are, everybody has to suffocate and die kind of thing. So, you know what I mean? Like they're starting to reach these ludicrous human limits on some of this stuff. And it's unsurprising that there might be some issues.
Some kind of conflicts and some suggestions.
Let's see here. This is the first time China's deployed police robots either. In 2016, its Anbot security robot began making the rounds at the Shenzhen airport. And in 2017, its e-patrol robot sheriff began patrolling streets. Remember, so we were talking
about...
There's
a new sheriff on the streets, Matt.
Oh, that's a little freaky. Remember when we were talking about they put these on college campuses and stuff, and the kids get drunk, fucking throw them in the fountains and things, like knock them over, and then they can't get up. And, malls are starting to use them. These they just sort of roam around and record everything.
Didn't I suggest even then that they arm those bots?
Well, no, we were talking about the Amazon delivery robots. You were talking about.
I just think that's my general response to robots. We should arm them.
We should just arm them. I feel
they need armed.
I feel that could only go bad for us, Eric. Just my opinion, man. I mean, I don't want to put you out or anything.
Look, I have a robot at home. For full disclosure, I have a robot at home, but I have armed it with drumsticks. Drumsticks,
right? It plays and makes beats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that one, Bubba.
He'll fit under your foot.
It's the one with hard points for missile systems and shit that I'm concerned about.
Those are the cool ones, though, man.
It was seemingly only a matter of time before China found a way to use robots to help its traffic officers maintain order. And now it appears that time has arrived. Yeah, they might be heading for Hong Kong. Who knows?
They're like my model for like a D&D city where like everybody's lawful good and they've got priests out patrolling the street casting no alignment to make sure everybody's cool and on the up and up. And you just got to be careful because if you're not, you'll get booted out real quick.
You know, it's going to make like the necessity for portable EMP type devices.
Very disruption fields.
I just watched because I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, so are drones. People are going to finally start doing directional EMP type stuff, and it's going to get crazy.
A backyard full of drones.
Yeah, like just popping them out. But I saw this video of a guy flying a drone, and a lot of these drones, when their battery gets low to a certain point, they'll just slowly start descend. They'll just go straight down and slowly descend because they think they're landing. And it had a high definition camera on it. And as it's descending, you realize that where it ran out of battery is over a lake. So it's like on this really weird slow elevator ride, just slowly dropping. And you see the dude like running, throwing everything out of his pockets. He's running out into the water. Now he's swimming. It comes right down and he catches it. And it's like, and then you can see it's vibrating, because you can see his hand vibrating as it's shutting down. But he's like swim out to caught it so it wouldn't drop in the water. Man. Like, wonder how much that drone was because it was worth the dip.
Did you see the nets that people were making for him too?
Like they can shoot them in the air.
Yeah.
It has like tennis balls. It shoots out and it like snatches them out of the air. Well, they make and I've seen that they're drone mounted. There's like drone killer drones now.
Oh wow!
It's turning into like a whole thing.
Oh wow!
Personal security and that kind of stuff. Weird, huh? I saw one at like a medieval festival was buzzing around and someone took a spear and actually threw it and took it out of the sky with a spear. Oh my God. So I thought it was really kind of like poetic. Yeah, you're tough. Here, eat a spear. This one comes from Futurism as well. YouTube lets its stars break rules, say moderators. So this is a big deal now with all the different rules and stuff that these different social media platforms are starting to institute.
Uh-huh.
But there's always been this discussion that these organizations are letting certain people get away with things that they're not letting other people get away with, which sets like an unfair standard for the platform itself.
Uh-huh.
So this one popped up, and it was just interesting to me. Officially, YouTube only has one set of content guidelines.
Right.
Unofficially, though, it has two. One for its most popular content creators and another for everyone else.
I wonder what the difference is.
That's according to 11 current and past YouTube content moderators who recently shared their experiences policing the platform's video content with the Washington Post under condition of anonymity. And they said it all comes down to money.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not surprising.
Yep. When someone breaks YouTube's rules by posting hateful or extremist content, for example, moderators flag the video, sending it to higher-ups in the company. Those higher-ups can then decide to strip ads from the video or even the creator's entire channel. So they'll come in and like shut people, they're making a living doing this, and they just come in and go, nope, and shut them off. Like, and there's no recourse. There's no, I mean, it's like, well, we're a private thing, so screw you, right?
Mm.
The more popular a video is, though, the more advertising revenue it generates. And because YouTube splits that revenue with content creators, boy, they use the word split generously here. The crumbs that YouTube lets the creators have, the platform has a financial incentive to keep its most popular videos raking in the ad dollars.
Now, if nobody can find us on YouTube, this will be the show you want to hear.
Yeah.
And share with your friends.
And so you understand
this is how
why
these guys got kicked off YouTube.
That incentive has led to a double standard in guideline enforcement, moderators told Washington Post, with higher-ups granting more leniency to the platform's stars. YouTube, however, denies this double standard exists. What are they going to do? Come out and go, what? We don't do that.
No.
The company applies its policies consistently, regardless of who a creator is, spokesperson Alex Joseph told the paper.
Yeah.
Well, the people that work for you or worked for you, or maybe still do, disagree. Whatever the truth of the matter, YouTube and practically every other major social platform is currently under close scrutiny by government agencies as they attempt to crack down on hateful online speech. So if it's letting stars to get away with bending the rules, it might not be for long. It's coming. They've done. It's over. The camels. I got a good buddy of mine that says you always want to be cautious letting the camel get its nose in the tent, because sooner or later the whole damn camel's in the tent, right? And it's over.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, they're going to be regulated, and all of this stuff's going to start changing. That's why I'm glad this and everything we do is over on Podbean. Now, not trying to give a big shout out to Podbean, but it's a phenomenal
awesome.
service.
Good job.
Yeah, no, they're really great, but we pay for this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so there's an expected, because of that exchange of I'm buying this kind of thing. There's an expected level of sort of professionalism and stuff, and I don't have a lot of this arbitrary kind of backdoor thing going on with censorship and all this. Even though these go up on YouTube, they're just sort of done there.
The government's been squirrely lately. They might just slap them down. You never know.
Well, I think Facebook's in deep shit, for sure. And because of the ad buys that were done, and the way the ad buys were done politically in some of the some recent elections all over the world, and some of the shit that's been going on there's really some cause for concern. I watched a documentary. It's great if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. I think it's called The Big Hack. Mm-hmm. And it talks about how data is, for lack of a better word, data is weaponized now. Mm-hmm. And the way that it's aggregated, the way that it's collected, the way that it's used, even metadata and stuff, how powerful this stuff is to people that understand how to write the right algorithms and shit, So, I think this lid's coming off.
Man.
All right, moving on.
The government has their number stations, though.
Still, all over the world.
Yeah.
We haven't circled back to number stations. And of course, nothing new's really happened.
Did we talk about it?
We've talked about number stations. Oh. We talked about number stations in probably like one of our first 10 podcasts.
Oh, well, okay.
You don't remember that?
Oh, you know. I don't know what I'm saying, man.
All right, you ready to move on?
Yep, sure.
All right, so this comes from CNET.com. The Dungeons & Dragons game rescuing kids from their social anxieties. A company called Game to Grow plays D&D with children who have trouble socializing to help them connect with their peers.
Well, isn't that nice?
Wow, you set kids around a table and give them a game to play, and they learn how to interact with each other.
Yeah. They have the luxury of playing a character and being somebody that they're not, and constructing someone that they feel represents them better,
This is where you're going to tell us what this is already going to tell us, isn't it?
I can.
I bet you just did. Games of Dungeons and Dragons often involve saving the world. Sometimes they end up saving the players themselves. Game to Grow believes that. The company uses a tailored Dungeons and Dragons experience as a platform to help children who have trouble socializing. The goal, provide them with a safe space to solve problems and learn to express themselves. Yeah. Yes, because you also get the chance to sort of simulate life and see how things would play out, right? You've talked about that a lot too.
Yeah, I just remastered that one. That was number something.
It was number something.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't.
I don't think you've remastered that one yet.
That one's next, actually.
Yeah, wasn't that Satanic Panic, and it was all part of that one?
Yep.
Game to Grow was one of the official charity partners of the Gen Con Board Game Convention in Indianapolis last weekend. The company officially launched a couple of years ago, but the founders, Adam Johns and Adam Davis, it's Adam and Adam, Adam squared, each have more than 8 years of experience using games as a means to help children become more comfortable in social situations. Based in Seattle, Game to Grow is a nonprofit organization that runs tabletop RPG therapy gaming groups weekly for kids from ages 8 to 20. They work with more than 50 kids a week, many of whom are on the autism spectrum. I had a chance to chat with the founders, the Adams, as they call themselves. Here's how Game to Grow works and why this version of Dungeons & Dragons might actually help save the world, at least for the children who participate. If you're not familiar with D&D, it traditionally involves exploring a world, battling monsters, and working together to solve problems. Yeah, that's what you said, huh?
Yep, being social and having the ability to project who you are that might be hard to do in real life into something that you can idealize that is able to be inside of a simulated situation where you're saving the world or you're doing some kind of a problem solving or something like that. So you with the stories sculpted in the right way, you could lead these people into being essentially heroes and how to think and work together. And when the Dungeon Master does NPCs, they have practice at interacting with various kinds of people, with various kinds of personalities, knowing that they're in a safe place and they're not actually out, And for them, man, that could be like the bartender at a tavern, right? Like if they go out to a supermarket, that might give them anxiety and issues where they have problems communicating with the person taking their money, right? But if they get to practice that in a D&D game, as a part of a story, an interactive story where they can go in and have that interaction with the guy running the game, they get practice at that.
I had a therapist that told me my addiction to World of Warcraft was starting to erode my my perception of reality. So I fucking shield bashed her.
Mm-hmm. Blam. Right in the kisser.
If you're not familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, it traditionally involves exploring a world, battling monsters, and working together to solve problems. The Dungeon Master or Game Masters uses a pre-written adventure or one of their own designs, then describes where you, the player, are in the world and what's happening. You respond and tell the Game Master what you'd like to do as your character. The Game Master follows certain preset rules to determine if you are successful. Each player plays a role as a fantasy character, like Eric just told us, a wizard, a rogue, a warrior, or any other variation. The Dungeon Master fills out the world by playing the part of any other character that the party of players might come across.
Otherwise known as NPCs, non-player characters.
Say it 3 times fast. Non-player characters. Your goal in one game might be to slay a monster, but your goal in another could be to talk to various people at a party to try to and solve a mystery or convince a king to sue for peace with a neighboring government. With Game to Grow, the mission and the game are specifically designed to tackle the challenges of the participants. As groups are formed, facilitators call parents to understand each child's particular goals and challenges. Each session lasts an hour and a half and involves reflecting questions before and after the actual game, giving facilitators a chance to see what aspects of the story are most interesting to each participant. So they're like studying this shit after they do it. Like this is the very clinical.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Many of the children involved have autism, ADHD, anxiety, or depression, but Adam Johns calls the company agnostic to diagnosis. Diagnosis can be informative, he explains. They give us information, but at the end of the day, I still want to know really where the goals are. Somebody has a diagnosis of autism that doesn't tell me anything about what their goals are or even what are their challenges. While the company grew from Adam Davis's degree in drama therapy, you can get a degree in drama therapy? That's a new one on me. He distinguishes the program from traditional therapy in a couple of key ways. Kids with social disorders are often taught how to blend in and mask who they are to fit in better. He calls it social camouflage, and mentioned that the, quote, institutionalized shame that comes with who you are as an autistic person. That's not the goal of the game to grow. Quote, we see kids that are burned out on therapy. They don't want to come back to therapy, but they come to our group week after week. It's the one thing they don't want to miss, Adam says. Part of what we do is we say, you are yourself, and that is okay. You can participate, and we can celebrate your uniqueness and your unique skill set. Well, dude, I think we were already doing this as kids, because I would say that I was definitely part of the freak squad, right?
Everybody found their niche.
Everybody, and it was okay. Like, we were all the ones that nobody else got, so we all sort of congregated around a board and with dice and character sheets, and, nobody really gave a shit if you were like, some of them dudes smelled, some, you know what I mean? Like, they all had their challenges. So I was like, in a weird sort of way, I think we were kind of already doing this.
Yeah, people who were able to express themselves through a fictional person better than through themselves, or felt more comfortable in a world that wasn't this world. I mean, essentially, that was the essence of my thesis, was that people like Plato and Einstein had mind models where they thought out things, right? And had some great epiphanies. This is like a thought experiment that lasts years sometime, right?
Yeah, some of these campaigns, some of these guys have been going on for decades.
Yeah.
They just same characters, they just keep playing the same.
But for the normal group of people, maybe a year or something, a summer or two. And in that time, they get to decide if they want to try to play a female character, if they're a male, or vice versa, right? The guy running the game and the people going into the cooperative story get to decide if they want to have a city that they're in, having these adventures in, has a different type of governmental structure than, say, capitalism, or communism, or something else, right? It gives these people the ability to try different religions, different codes of ethics, different alignments and ways of doing things, different sexes, different all these things, right?
Which can be scary to a lot of power structures.
Yes,
yeah.
That specifically
ones
that
don't sit around and think about what it might what it might be to be
if
like
things were
this,
better,
or be like that. Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah, and it's specifically ones that want to pass their way of being down to the next generation.
Right.
That homogeny.
Homogeny, yeah, that's
not
important.
homogeny. Remember, it was homogeny.
Oh, that's right. It's a different word.
We looked it up. Yeah, it's specifically
hegemony.
Yeah, you can say it like that.
Hegemony,
hegemony or hegemony, right? But it's basically where you're literally trying to have your way of life be also incorporated with your government and your philosophy, and you want that handed down to your kids. It's something that you expect, right? You expect Johnny and Joyce to grow up and raise an American flag and do American things.
Patriotism is sort of a part, is a type of hegemony kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
It is, or any power structure. I mean, for the political right of politics, it was the government, but for the religious right, it was the religion, right?
Yeah.
Because at one point, when the game does a better job at being a metaphysical bridge between a metaphysical place and real life, which we talked about with frames of discussion and such, you almost have to legitimize that game as being truly powerful, and so that you can at the same time say that so is the church, right? Like the church condemned this because it's real evil and it's bad for you, and you need to come to a real church because there's real good, right? Because to deny that, to say otherwise, is to say that they are in and of themselves as inconsequential as a game.
Yeah, it's crazy though, but now that is so accepted. Kids today, there's kids today that like, you know, like you're going to go into a 7-Eleven and buy a joint. Like no one's going to care anymore in 20 years. You know, like those kids aren't going to. There's so many things though that have happened, and that's one too. Is like this whole concept of the role playing game just continued to grow and morph and just become more and more things now.
Well, and political right and religion's coming unraveled. There used to be in the late 70s and 80s, there used to be something potentially to preserve. There was still this distinction between the have and have-nots, right? But there's so much unraveling coming from the political.
Well, I think it's a necessity
arena.
thing, man. I think automation is killing, just like automation is killing technology. Let's just say that is killing things like manual labor jobs. It's also killing the necessity for these intermediaries that we used to depend on to make our societies function. Does that make sense? Like, so the first thing is going to be is you're going to start to realize they're not really worth much. It's not where they're really doing you. It doesn't have a lot of value now in the new paradigm.
Yeah, I see.
So,
yeah.
you know, and then that starts to unravel things. It's not an unraveling in the sense that there's any kind of formal attack or anything like that going on. It's just that the necessity for it is disappearing, and this new model now is becoming the thing, which is very like, it's straight up Buckminster Fuller. Like, that's one of his famous things that I just love is quotes that he has. He says that if you want to change, you never change a thing by fighting a thing, because like you said, as soon as you fight something, you substantiate it.
Yeah.
You say you have validity because I'm using energy to recognize that you exist, right?
Yeah, and recognize that you're diametrically opposed to me.
Correct. Yeah, so much so, right, that I'm willing to in some cases even to resort to violence, whatever that paradigm might be. But so the way that you actually change something is you design a new model that renders the previous model obsolete. And that's sort of how everything progresses, really, at the end of the day.
So in my thesis, I traced this from the cult panic to the satanic panic to the super predator panic.
Super predator panic, yep. Everybody was getting kidnapped, right? Yeah.
Well, it was the kids coming into schools and shooting people, and the violence was video games.
There was a stranger danger panic in there somewhere too, wasn't there?
No. Well, I mean, it happened around that time, but as far as the panic of super predator panic. Was the worry
was the last time,
that teenagers...
It was one of the last times video games took a beating.
Yeah. The teenagers were going to be influenced by violence on TV and video games and stuff, right?
Right.
So did you see here recently when there were comments within the government made about this very thing, right?
I know.
Now, did you see how nobody took it seriously?
No, nobody did.
Nobody did.
The memes, dude, I've seen from
pouring out.
Oh, just like a Niagara Falls.
And all of the research that I had done on that paper pointed to the fact that these things can't happen again. Once you go through a panic,
right,
you can't repeat it.
So this is why that's
because you just realize it's fucking stupid and silly, right? And nobody's going to fall for it. And it doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 people in the government talking about it. People are just going to be like, whatever. And that's pretty much what happened. They tried that shit. They played that card. People were like,
everybody just laughed.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nobody went in tough. And I think the cycles now are getting super compressed with how fast that sort of public opinion turn happens now because of the availability of information.
And that also has made there to be no real panics either. Because panics need...
It just seems like we're always in a fucking panic.
Well, you can look at
now,
it that way too, right? Because panics used to be predicated upon a build of things happening so that it permeated the public, right?
Yeah, yep.
But today there's so much information going that there's nothing taking hold. There's, like you said, you can either say it's a constant state of panic or you can say it's never going to be like the old panic where for like 2 or 3 years straight, this one thing is just terrible and you don't want to do it.
Right.
You know, you can't be watching video games like that. You know, 2 or 3 years, parents weren't letting their kids watch anything violent. 2 or 3 years, nobody would let their kids play D&D. 2 or 3 years, everybody was worried about their kids joining a cult like the Moonies and shit.
Right.
You know, it's like, but then that shit passes and you realize, you know, it's bullshit. But now, like you said, the cycles are so compressed that doesn't take hold like that. But then again, you're always in a state of perpetual panic about something.
Well, you could be. I mean,
if you don't watch yourself.
Yeah. The thing to do, I think the thing is is that what this does is it sort of creates a critical society.
Possibly.
Because you got to, at some point, you got to start going, okay, wait a minute. I hear so much, how do I set a filter on
either
this,
paranoid or critical?
It's one of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's either going to be a big crunch or a big bang. Or it's ever a big crunch, or it's going to just go out into nothing.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Well, one thing it's not going to change is that technology is going. Here's what's going to stay constant: technology is going to continue to advance and rapidly, and it's going to continue to take over more and more things. And ultimately, we're just going to have to organically learn how to incorporate this.
Well, I see we and technology are like mind.
Yeah, right.
We're planning on doing the exact same thing.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to keep growing and getting bigger.
And bigger until we take over everything?
Everything.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What are we doing today, Pinky?
Like the whole air,
What are we doing today, Brain? Same thing as always, Pinky. Taking over the world, right? Researchers this is from ZME Science. Researchers looking for dark matter fail, but find gold instead.
Well, I suppose that's rare.
Yeah. A rare consequence of fucking up, right?
Yeah.
It didn't work, but we found gold.
Well, dark matter is more rare.
A failed experiment in search of dark matter provides us with a new way to find heavy metals such as gold deep within the earth and fast. Hey, we built basically what they're saying is we built an instrument that did not at all do what we wanted it to do.
But look, we found gold.
But look what else it does.
We're not a complete failure. Please give us our grants next year.
I hear pharmaceuticals are done this way a lot too. They'll try to develop a medicine for one thing, but it does something else, and then they just rebrand it.
We couldn't fix that fungus under your fingernail, but we were able to completely remove all nose hairs.
Which we didn't expect.
With a pill, yeah. We don't know why, but everybody was fine.
But trust us. You can take this with no known side effects.
Right. No known. Who knows what will happen to you individually? But we don't know of anything that was like
this. Is how the zombie hordes begin, my friend. Alan Duffy, an associate professor at Swinburne's Center for Astrophysics and Supercomputing.
Yo, that's in Australia. We learned from the last article, right?
We did, didn't we? Recently led an experiment to detect dark matter deep in the bowels of Australia. The experiment was part of the larger sodium iodide with active background rejection experiment, or SABRE.
SABRE, how conveniently cool of a name is that?
That's a cool name. And took place in a mine in Stawell, Victoria. Unfortunately, it failed to detect dark matter at all.
No, I'm sorry, honey. I can't come home. I'm in Stawell, Victoria, working on the SABRE project.
On a SABRE project.
Anything.
Super secret. Super secret SABRE project.
Say that three times.
There you go. There's a golden lining, however. The team reports that the same approach they used in their experiment can be deployed to create an X-ray of the Earth spanning from the surface down to the sensor. Effectively, the method could be employed to detect seams of heavy metals such as gold with a fraction of the effort and time needed previously.
So
gold's going to get cheap.
Well...
Prospect smart, not hard. The SABRE experiment focuses on detecting particles of dark matter. No, it didn't work. Something no one has conclusively achieved yet. Because any signal from dark matter would be minuscule, the team used an incredibly sensitive sensor, to make sure they're not missing out on the signal. However, because the device was so sensitive, the team also had to find a place that's insulated from cosmic radiation, which the sensor would also pick up.
Just like when they were looking for neutrinos, they go way down deep into salt mines.
Right.
So that they can keep out cosmic rays and all that other shit that
comes whipping through the atmosphere and bounces
that you
off
can see in the cloud chamber.
Yeah.
That shows time dilation.
Kenny sent me a message. Kenny Schaefer, shout out. Kenny Schaefer over at Thought Dump Podcast. He sent me a message. He goes, "You guys should build the cloud chamber."
I would like to. I keep trying to add up the amount of stuff that I have to
figure out what the budget actually is.
Yeah, because it would be like $100 or $150, I think, around that. The biggest expense being the magnet.
Somebody wants to send us $150. We have a Patreon account to get Eric to build this cloud. I swear to you.
No, don't send money.
Well, no, I have a Patreon account. They can.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, if you can figure it out. It's $150. If they send $150, Eric will build it. And then we'll video it and shit and do a podcast on it and stuff. You want to do that?
Yeah.
All right, so we're putting that out there. $150. So send $300 and we'll build it. We'll use the other 150 to buy alcohol, and we'll have a good time while we're doing it. No, probably not. This is why researchers.
No, I'm thinking I better double check and make sure it was 150. I'm pretty sure it was.
All right, well, we'll get back to you there, adoring fans. Okay, this is why researchers carried out their experiment 1 kilometer down a mine shaft where the rock high above was thought thick enough to absorb any cosmic radiation. Turns out that the body of rock wasn't enough, and that radiation still penetrated to the sensor.
Yeah, to find the neutrinos, they went to the deepest mine on the planet.
They went way down, right? And
the deepest mine on the planet.
They did find them, though, correct?
They did.
Yeah. So that was a successful experiment, yeah.
They were just trying to find them that they had mass.
Well, I think hearing what they're saying is that they didn't go deep enough.
Yeah.
Phrasing.
Deep enough for gold, but not deep enough for dark matter.
I was going to say that's what she said. Not very good news for Sabre, as the incoming radiation acted as noise, spoiling the measurements. However, the team reports that this incoming radiation did provide them with a substantial and unforeseen wealth of information. It can be used to detect heavy metals such as gold. We know that. The particles that spoiled the team's experiment are called muons. Did I say that right? Muons. Short-lived particles similar to electrons, but some 200 times heavier. Atoms with high atomic numbers preferentially scatter muons. So deposits of heavy metals such as gold create shadows similar to bones in a medical X-ray image. The idea is not entirely new, but Duffy notes that the technology had come of age. The team redesigned and built a muon detector based on a prototype from the 1960s. Boy, they dug that out of
the
closet.
But with much better equipment.
with up-to-date technology, yeah. The device was a bulky thing that required 2 people to carry it back in the day. The team's sensor is based on many of the same technologies that enable your smartphone and is about the size of a fashionable paperweight. What is a fashionable paperweight?
What is a fashionable paperweight nowadays, by the way? See, somebody's got a desk job.
This was in Duffy's own words. Apparently, Duffy has a fashionable paperweight, but okay. The first one we built was a cylindrical piece of scintillating plastic.
Wait, what do we
have to say that? In a paint tin. Yeah, it's scintillating, man.
Yeah, scintillating.
You never seen anything that looks so rough and ready, but it gave the most beautiful detections. He is in love with this thing. Given the small size, phrasing, and low cost of the sensor, the team says they're ideal to lower it into mineral exploration boreholes. One course of action would be to deploy half a dozen of them and walk away. Duffy explains. A few short weeks later, a picture of the minerals in the surrounding rock could be reconstructed from the data. I think it's kind of the same way that they used to figure out that there's extra rooms in the pyramids. They were doing something to that effect where they put these plates down and they were able to look at the way that electrons, something cosmic bullshit did things. And
now there's a room.
Like how I'm so technical about some cosmic bullshit thing happening.
Cosmic bullshit happened, and you got some room here. And now you got to change your stuff.
Currently, the team wants to build a new company around the sensor. Of course, they should.
For people looking for gold.
Yeah, you better not sell the equipment. Just lease it out for a percentage of the finds. Let me set your business model for you, folks. For that, they have to make the device robust enough to be used in actual mines.
Did you say robust?
Robust.
Okay. I thought you said robust enough.
Dark matter is very ethereal. Duffy added, it's fundamental to physics, but they don't. Okay, but it's hard to think of practical uses. Yet I see real commercial outcomes in this spinoff. Yeah. They can't detect it, but it's fundamental to physics, and they're not really sure what it is, and all this kind of stuff, right? But is this going to end up being the next cosmological constant?
Well, that's what they think dark energy is.
Is the cosmological constant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except that when
look at me,
Einstein,
I'm like I hit a pitching wedge and just dropped it in the cup, man. Look at that. Now, come on, we cannot.
That was awesome.
Just discount that somehow my brain made that connection.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, it's the only difference is that when Einstein did it, he did it to make the universe in stasis because he believed that the universe was eternal and didn't move in or out, even though his projections showed it did one or the other. And so he did it for that reason. But dark energy is actually expanding the universe faster and faster.
Yeah, which no one can explain yet, really, right? And they're attributing it to this dark matter thing that they've got to try to figure out. So basically, dark matter is just a box that draws around this it's question mark right now.
Yeah, they don't know.
They know the effects, but they can't find what's making it happen.
Right, because the whole Big Bang is predicated on the idea that if you was to run time back, everything that you see in the sky would come together, right? Like an explosion.
Into like a central point, right?
Yeah. because it's all expanding away from each other from some kind of a central point, right? So they assumed that when they assumed that it was from an initial explosion, right? That explosion, the energy from that explosion was gone. And the only thing that mattered is there enough mass in the universe that all the gravity pushes everything back together.
It should come back together at some point, right?
Or is there not enough mass in the universe and it just kind of fades away, right?
Right, but it shouldn't be speeding up then.
It should, nor should it be static, right?
Right.
Because it happened from an explosion.
Right.
So it can't be static, it can't be speeding up. It's either going to fall back in on itself or it's going to just keep going, right?
Right.
So that's the whole reason why they were trying to find out if neutrinos had mass, because they thought that the missing mass in their calculations to decide this one way or the other
was hidden in the neutrinos somehow?
Yeah, so they were looking to find one to see if it had mass. And it did, but it didn't have enough mass that meant that things were going to go back into a big crunch. But then, I think it was 1993, they found out that that there was this, that it was speeding up. And so there had to be some other energy involved. It couldn't be the Big Bang energy, which was reflected by the microwave background radiation. It had to be some other mysterious energy that they couldn't account for.
There's something else going on out there, right?
Yeah, they don't know what it is. But whatever it is, it's some kind of energy because it's pushing shit apart constantly. And that if it continues to do so, even atoms will be stripped of their electron, and their nucleus of protons and neutrons will be split apart.
So the concept of existence itself then starts to come apart.
Yeah.
That's what we're rushing towards.
That's what it looks like currently with our best observations, that everything's going to
I like how you're just
fade
like,
out and become
I'm like,
dark.
everything's just going to eventually cease to exist. You're like, yeah. Shit happens, man. What do you want?
It's going to take a really, really long time, so my own mortality is going to find me way before this happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shit day like Pompeii for somebody.
Yeah. It's going to take, our sun will have expended its energy in roughly 5 billion years or whatever, 4.5. And so no matter what, we're going to have to find some other place to go because because we're still dependent upon that.
Right.
And even if you talk about things like Dyson spheres and stuff, eventually you're going to have to find a new star.
A new star to put around it, yeah.
Yeah. So, if the star is that old and we're just here and it's like in middle age or it's halfway, it's like, that actually seems to me like we kind of got to hurry or something. It's a good thing Moore's Law is going on because we're going to need some shit to happen soon.
Some discoveries.
Yeah, so we can get to another star if it's possible. And considering that in that whole time, things are going to be moving further and further away.
apart, right. Yeah, so
faster and faster.
Every place we would want to go to is getting further away from us.
And it's happening faster and faster.
Well, thanks, man. You've just been a bowl of fucking sunshine tonight. Well, here, let's throw this one on the fire too.
Right.
This is also from ZME Science. Physicists are a step closer to a theory of quantum gravity.
Okay.
Is this
the
ringing a bell?
graviton and the Higgs boson.
Oh, so you know about this already?
It's not quantum loop gravity, but it sure is quantum gravity.
New research centering around the Unruh effect has created a set of necessary conditions that theories of quantum gravity must meet. Quantum physics has, since its development in the early years of the 20th century, become one of the most successful and well-evidenced areas of science, but despite all of its success and experimental triumphs, there is a shadow that hangs over it. Always is, right? Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
Despite successfully integrating electromagnetic, the weak, and strong nuclear forces, 3 of the 4 fundamental forces, quantum physics is yet to find a place for gravity. Here we go with gravity again. I'm not getting my hoverboard anytime soon.
Well, this is why the electric universe people have a legitimate, question here, because nobody really knows what it is. And like Dan had pointed out,
Dan W on YouTube.
Mm-hmm, like when I'm saying they break the laws of physics, it's like, well, concerning gravity, there really isn't anything we understand about it, right? It may or may not be breaking laws. We just don't understand it, right? Some people don't even know if it exists. It's kind of like math, right? You're not sure if it exists really or if it's just the way you describe shit.
Right.
But it's, so.
It provides a way of recording a way to describe shit theoretically, for sure.
Right. And of course, this is a way of us recording the observations that we see concerning gravity. I mean, it is so obvious Newton was able to do it way back when.
Right.
And then it took the insight of Einstein to change it in any real way. And even with all of that, we still don't really know what it is.
Right.
We've even found the Higgs boson, which is a force-carrying particle for that, which gives intrinsic weight to the atomic weight of the periodical table of elements, and still there's this graviton that could potentially be found. And then, of course, the Higgs boson wasn't what we thought it would exactly be. It didn't weigh as much as we thought it would.
Yeah, no, I watched that Particle Fever or whatever it was, that documentary about CERN and about finding that, and then the results were not necessarily clarifying really one way or the other.
Not in terms of the theory
Yeah.
and of the universe. I at best points to there being some other thing to look for.
Right.
And man,
there's more to the puzzle.
When there comes to quantum physics, there are so many subatomic particles to begin with, man. I mean, you just find it.
It's like opening up a new universe, literally, in a lot of ways, isn't it? It sort of kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
Only you have to look at it with this really, really specific type of microscope.
Yeah.
These particle accelerators.
Well, and the same thing in the macro world too, right? Like if you look at the universe and you think that that's all there is and it's static, and then you come to find out that
it's not.
No, that there's like a galaxy, and you come to find out there's more galaxies in the universe, and you just keep finding out that there's these levels and stuff to it.
Well, it says, as such, it cannot link with one of physics' other great triumphs, that of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Thus, physicists are currently working hard to develop a quantum theory of gravity. Now, researchers led by the CISA, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, the Complutense University of Madrid, Complutense?
Where do you see that?
Right here, Complutense University of Madrid, and the University of Waterloo have identified the sufficient and necessary conditions that the low energy limit of quantum gravity theories must satisfy to preserve the main features of the Unruh effect. Any new theory of physics must factor in this effect. This means quantum gravity theories, too, must have a place for the Unruh effect in its predictions, which are detailed below. Does any of this make any sense to you yet?
Well, yeah, it sounds like they're like they're saying that this is a criteria. If they want these two things to match up and sync up, then this is the criteria that they have to, that relativity has to at least meet. Like they have to at least meet that it does this. Sounds like what they're telling me, right?
Yeah, because it says that the physical review letters provides a solid theoretical framework to discuss modifications to the Unruh effect caused by the microstructure of space-time. I'm just reading through here. The team's findings of importance because the Unruh effect exists in the boundary between quantum field theory and general relativity and quantum gravity, which we are yet to understand.
So this is probably involving something like superposition, because that's one of the things that ORCOR talks about.
Right.
It talks about that boundary between the fine structure of space-time and the quantum level, that Planck length,
Right.
And that the orchestrated reduction of due to space-time geometry at that level causes there not to be a multiverse effect, that eventually things collapse into one reality, like a wave function collapsing.
Okay.
So it might have something to do with the standard on what it's going to take on either side for that effect to happen, because we can monitor that effect in between the transition,
Right.
But we're not sure how it's happening, like we see that it's here, but we're not sure exactly what's going on. But whatever is going on, it's going to have to fit within these parameters, because this is what we see happening.
Okay. It says, okay, so here's an explanation. As an analogy, consider a universe with a constant temperature of 0 in which no heat arises from the effects of friction or kinetic energy contributions. Okay, so everything just stops. That's absolute zero.
That's dissonance.
Nothing's vibrating anymore.
Right.
A still thermometer would have its mercury level set permanently at 0. But the Unruh effect posits posits that if that thermometer was waved from side to side, the temperature measured would no longer be zero. The temperature measured would be proportional to the acceleration that the thermometer undergoes. Postdoctoral researcher at CISA, Italy, explains further, quote, inertial and accelerated observers do not agree on the meaning of empty space. What an inertial observer carrying a particle detector identifies as a vacuum is not experienced as such by an observer accelerating through that same vacuum. The accelerated detector will find particles in thermal equilibrium like a hot gas. He further explains that as a result of this, it is reasonable to expect that any new physics that modifies the structure of quantum field theory at short distances would induce deviations from this law. Oh. I think this is just a really long way of saying that I don't know what this is saying. I think this one's way the fuck over my head, Bubba.
So,
while probably anyone would agree that these deviations must be present, there is no consensus on whether these deviations would be large or small in a given theoretical framework. This is precisely the issue that we wanted to understand. I'm glad they're doing it because I don't understand it.
Well, read the paragraph that starts with what right above where right there, up at the top.
What an inertial observer carrying a particle detector identifies as a vacuum is not experienced as such by an observer accelerating through that same vacuum.
Okay, yeah, so that's just saying that in a universe where everything is in stasis and there's no heat,
right?
If somebody's standing there with a detector and not moving themselves, they're not going to detect any heat either, right?
Okay.
But if somebody has a detector and they're moving with motion through
the vacuum,
their detector is going to read like there is temperature because they're moving through and they're causing that energy.
Okay.
Or if you were waving it back and forth.
So they're saying that if you're not taking this into consideration in your
well, I'm just saying that's what the first paragraph is talking about. And read the paragraph right under it.
He further explains that as a result of this, it is reasonable to expect that any new physics that modifies the structure of quantum field theory at short distances would induce deviations from this law.
Okay, so he's saying that if there is anybody doing any new physics that modifies the quantum field theory at short distances in relativistic space, over short distance in relativistic space, it would change.
Yeah, because this is like microscopic shit we're really talking about.
Well, really short distances, like maybe inches or something, right? Then there's going to have to be a deviation to that quantum calibration, right? Because that quantum calibration is based on particle physics. And everything being at absolute zero. Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's not the way expanding space-time works, right? Because there's that expansion that you inherently got to take into effect.
So if you don't account for this, then the results that you predict could be completely unpredictable.
Right, because it's on the other side of the barrier, right? So it's going to have to work out differently, at least than those two paragraphs talk about, because that's still on opposite sides of the fence.
So they're basically saying they're setting these sort of like criteria around
the edge
this.
of them. Yeah, like whatever this is we're talking about has to fit within this transition period, right?
Right.
Between how things work here and here, and in terms of thermodynamics, which is something that happens relativistically and also in a quantum level, that's the terminus boundary, it sounds like.
Right. This is particularly important and appropriates even if the effect has yet not been measured experimentally, as it is expected to be verified in that not so distant future.
So guidelines.
Yeah.
Now that we're peering down into that area, they're just trying to set some guidelines, like, this is where we need to look for shit, and this is the kind of transition that we need to
now go out there, physics community, and design us experiments that look specifically here, and I think this is where we're going to find our answers, kind of thing. That makes sense. Do you want to talk about, this is from Popular Science. I always put these articles last because I tend to find these to be the least informative and almost always most fantastic.
Really? Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Doctors altered a person's genes with CRISPR for the first time in the U.S., and here's what could be next. Last week, for the first time, doctors in the United States used the gene editing tool CRISPR to attempt to remedy a genetic disease in a living person. Victoria Gray, a 41-year-old woman from Mississippi, was born with sickle cell disease. an often painful and debilitating condition caused by a genetic mutation that alters the shape of red blood cells.
That also means she's black, I believe.
Yes. As of now, only one treatment for the condition exists, a donor transplant that works for just 10% of patients, but doctors think editing cells extracted from Gray's own bone marrow could restore proper red blood cell formation. If successful, it could prove to be the treatment 90% of sickle cell patients have been waiting for. Yeah, it's a big deal. People with sickle cell disease don't make beta hemoglobin, the protein that both makes your red blood cells nice and round and helps transport oxygen through your body. Instead, they produce a faulty protein called hemoglobin S that changes the red blood cells' chemistry and causes them to cave in on themselves and become rigid and sickle-shaped. The hook-like cells are not nearly as efficient at transporting oxygen as their healthy circular counterparts. Instead, they get stuck in the small blood vessel and break down prematurely, depriving tissues and organs of much-needed oxygen, leading to pain and extreme fatigue. To try and treat it, doctors remove stem cells from Gray's bones marrow and use CRISPR to tweak the DNA to turn on a specific protein that would allow for the proper red blood cell production. So this is literally like just flipping a switch, sort of. Well, I shouldn't say literally. Figuratively, this is like
CRISPR makes it feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Gray is the first person in the U.S. to have her cells altered with CRISPR and the second globally that we know of, right?
Third.
Well, this says second globally, but I'm saying that this is because didn't some stuff go on in China?
Yeah, there's the guy in China that tried to make the twins immune to HIV. There was a guy in Russia that was trying to do something with CRISPR, and then there's this.
So there's more than this. So they're not even acknowledging those. Okay. The first patient was treated in Germany, according to an announcement by CRISPR Therapeutics, one of the two biotech companies heading up the study, in February for a similar genetic blood disorder called beta thalassemia. According to a recent press release, the patient, whose identity hasn't been disclosed, is improving and has not needed blood transfusions, the typical treatment for the disease, in over 4 months.
That's amazing.
That sounds fixed to me, man. Well, for now, right? CRISPR Therapeutics, a Cambridge, Massachusetts-based company focused on developing gene-based therapies, and Vertex Pharmaceuticals of Boston will eventually enroll around 45 people between the ages of 18 and 35 in the two companies' joint study to see if genetically modifying blood cells with CRISPR could remedy these faulty sickle cells for good. That's pretty freaking cool, though.
Yeah, man.
So, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, right?
No.
On this stuff. I mean, I always tend to go with the here's how you start the zombie apocalypse with this shit. But all right, so that kind of wraps up the articles, man. You want to give a shout out here to Dan? And
man. I was trying to remember what I was going to say, actually.
Well, we talked about this, that you kind of had it was a fruitful, non-douchebaggy kind of, that's my phraseology. Dan, he didn't say that, I said that, okay? But we said that for a while, that, leave us a comment.
Oh, no, I remembered. I just wanted to also address, just kind of go over that Dark Forest thing again. You probably don't have that article, do you?
I know. Those are like, once they're done, they're gone.
Man, right? You're not saving these.
I'm not saving these. No, they're saved in the podcast.
Now look,
because we discussed
we need
it.
them. Okay.
So you guys were having a conversation about something we discussed on a previous show.
Well, yeah,
right?
I was going to, if I would have had more time when I was getting off work, I was going to talk about the zoo hypothesis and about how it reminded me of that, which is basically where it's like, 'cause a lot of people call it the Star Trek hypothesis, and we talked about it before, but it's basically where, if by luck we might be embedded in an organization, a galactic organization that included a lot of different planets, and they had a prime directive, and they had access to replicators, which allowed them to not really necessarily need to wander or do anything, so that, really 98% of the populace was going to adhere to these regulations and rules and prime directives and stuff, and then it would be pretty rare for a world that didn't have warp or faster than light technology,
right,
to ever be visited by anybody in this situation,
right?
For whatever reasons, maybe also partially because the way they travel and the way they do things, like they do in Eclipse Phase, where they basically beam their essence and mind into a biological or technological robot to another place, and then use that body until they're done, and then beam back to their original. Yeah,
right. Just move their consciousness sort of around.
So for whatever reason, assume that maybe you live in a governmental structure that doesn't allow that. Most people abide by that, so it's really rare. But you do occasionally have instances where, it does break through the veneer, and you do see UFOs or whatever. But until we develop a one world government and an ability to travel faster than the speed of light.
Stealth equipment fails and you pop out and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, like they do in the movies and stuff. But until you get a one world government and the ability to travel faster than light in some capacity, whatever that capacity is, they pretty much leave you alone. And then when you do, they visit you right before you have that breakthrough, and they're like, look, you happen to be inside this large body of this federation of planets, and we got these rules and stuff, and if you're not willing to abide by them as a whole species,
right,
then we recommend you don't make contact with anybody, because you're going to break some regulations. It's going to be bad.
It's not going to work out well for you.
Right. As opposed to like that dark forest sort of situation where it's preying upon prey.
Yeah, everything's out to kill you.
Or even like a Klingon Federation, right, where the ruling species don't care and they're going to come to your planet and just take your shit. Right?
Anyways, whether you like it or not, right?
Right. So it reminded me of that dark forest idea reminds me of the zoo hypothesis, which is what it is, where you're just being taken care of by this larger government entity that you happen to be embedded in by chance.
The dark forest theory for me falls apart under the concept that if you've got the capability to create enough energy to move across galaxies and shit like that, resources are really not an issue for you. I wouldn't think so. Like, there's some hurdles you got to cross to get there to even to be able to do that. So going out and raping other planets or other systems for their resources is sort of, for me, has turned into like this thing. It's great for sci-fi fantasy, but when you kind of put the blocks together, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Well, and not for resources, because they're talking about that asteroid that's got so much gold on it that if they brought it to Earth, it would just, like, you really make gold worthless.
Right.
And of course the idea that, gold is not indigenous to Earth and you can find it anywhere in the universe in much larger quantities as this asteroid dictates or shows. It wouldn't be for that reason. I can't remember exactly what it was. He did lay it out up there, but
Dan did?
Yeah.
Dan W did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it might not just totally be an issue of resources. But whatever the reason would be, I'm just saying that it reminds me of the zoo hypothesis, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm getting there. What I'm saying is that I think as a motivation, I find that one weak for that theory. I'm not saying it's not.
It's like a prey thing, right? Like if you make too much noise, they find you and they come and get you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but why would they come and get you if they don't need anything you have?
I don't know. It'd have to be something other than resources.
Man, they're loud.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't know.
Not to go down a wormhole here or anything, but...
And... there's probably something else I was going to say too.
I keep taking you off subject. I suck.
That's all right. No, I would have just rambled. Well, anyway, yeah. Thought it was cool that you were learning bass. Looked like you were like 3 or 4 years into it. That was neat.
Oh, Dan's a bass player?
Yeah, he had like 3 or 4 videos up. And
oh, cool. I got to check that out.
Yep.
Well, and again, so folks, if you actually leave us a comment and you're not a dick about it and you got some really good points, we'll actually we read them and we'll talk about them.
And if you are a dick about it, we'll still might read them and we still might talk about them.
But we're going to make fun of you relentlessly. And I've got nothing but memory here, so we can go on about somebody for hours if we really wanted to, right? All right, man. I think that's it, right? You want to wrap up here?
Well, yes.
Yes and yes. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you, as Dan W. did. So a big shout out again to Dan W.
Yay!
Make sure you give us a rating on iTunes, etc. If you like what we do, share us. It's our favorite thing to have people do for us. It really is. Next to bringing us food, I would say. Anyway, so that's the show. We'll catch you all next time, folks. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye, Sickles.
Bye.